Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and the aftermath for the Bungie layoffs continue to roll in as fans freaked out today over a reported canceled Destiny project. Originally, a lot of people believed this was for Destiny 3, and while that ultimately proved to be false, the real story here doesn't really make it all that much better. In fact, I'd say it's really about the same. So we're going to get into all of that, as well as apparently a huge Gamescom for Xbox. We had a rumor a month or so back that they were going to show up at Gamescom in a big way, and they absolutely confirmed that today. So do make sure to stay tuned for all of that, but of course, hit that subscribe button if you like this type of content. That way, every time I post one of these videos, you'll be one of the first to be notified. But let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with an alleged delay for an upcoming Xbox exclusive. Now, if this is true, I know a lot of people will probably be a little bit disappointed by this, but I actually think that this makes business sense, and if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll probably know exactly why. So this is for Avowed. If you remember right, they've yet to give us a definitive release date outside of its expected 2024 release window, and there might be a reason for that. Sounds like they're still trying to move pieces around the board. According to Tom Warren, he claims that he's heard that they will announce a small delay to early 2025. And the reason for this has nothing to do with it needing more time to develop. According to him, it's actually in good shape. But rather, the reason for this is because the Xbox Game Pass lineup is apparently too crowded this holiday. Of course, they have Call of Duty, they have Stalker 2, possibly Indiana Jones. We're still waiting for a release date on that one. And plus, they have some other games like Age of Mythology, Flight Sim 2024, and Towerborn. So they do have a lot planned for the next 4 or so months. And basically, it sounds like what they want to do is they want to give Avowed a better opportunity during a slower period. Which, okay, if you're really excited, this might be a little bit disappointing, but it is something that I 100% agree with. I complain about this every single year. I hate when publishers cram everything into the final few months of the year because there's always a few games that ends up getting overshadowed. Sonic last year really paid for that going up against Mario Wonder, and to Sega's credit, they later on admitted that that was indeed a mistake. But to me, I think it was a mistake that shouldn't really have happened in the first place. I said before its release, they need to delay that game. So I think that this is the correct call for Avowed, considering it is an important game for them, but it's still a smaller IP compared to some of their other heavy hitters that they have planned for this holiday. I mean, technically, it is a part of the Pillars of Eternity franchise, but it's not necessarily a brand name that's going to get as much recognition as, let's say, Call of Duty or Indiana Jones, assuming that's still planned for 2024. Even Stalker 2, that is a huge franchise over on PC. It's actually among the most wishlisted games on Steam for that matter. So absolutely it makes sense for those games to be their premier attractions this holiday, and then shortly after that, possibly in January or February, they can bring in Avowed and give it its own opportunity to shine. Let me know what you all think about all of this, though. This is only a rumor for the time being, but if it turns out to be true, I know there's always differing opinions when it comes to delays, so do you think it's the right call to make or not? Now, speaking of big games planned for late 2024, BioWare just announced that they plan to share a release date for Dragon Age Veilguard later this month, which will include a roadmap and a new look at the game. Rumor has it that it will be an October release. So again, we are starting to see that holiday period fill up. This here is a game that fans have been waiting for a very long time. I mean, Dragon Age Inquisition released 10 years ago in 2014. So I just kind of hope that Veilguard lives up to that long wait time. You know, I've seen a lot of skepticism and negativity with this game, especially when it comes to its art style. Just to kind of put things into perspective here, the gameplay trailer that they revealed in June has 4.3 million views with more than double the dislikes than it has likes. A lot of the complaints seems to be focused on the visuals. I've seen various people say that this does not look like a Dragon Age game, so it's definitely been divisive, to say the least. So, you know, BioWare still has a chance to win people over, especially if the gameplay actually turns out to be good. But because their recent releases, you know, they haven't exactly instilled a lot of confidence, and I do think they have a lot to prove with this game and their upcoming planned reveal. I mean, if this game fails, then I really don't know what's going to happen to BioWare. It's been a long time since they've had a big hit, which is just so sad considering how talented they were in the early 2000s and throughout that original Mass Effect trilogy. So there is a lot riding on Dragon Age Veilguard, and I mean, I guess we'll just have to kind of see what happens here. Let me know what you all think about this game so far, though. Did you like that original gameplay reveal, or are you on the side that wasn't exactly pleased? Okay, so let's go and shift on over to some Gamescom news. I just mentioned this yesterday that I expect news will start to pick up this month with Gamescom right around the corner, and apparently Xbox is going to kickstart that with a very exciting announcement. They dropped a haymaker today that they're going to show up with more than 50 games. Yeah, so the rumors were absolutely true. They will be at Gamescom in a major way, though I will say that it is important to keep in mind here that this is just for their booth. This is where Gamescom attendants can get on-hand previews for various games, which will include Age of Mythology Retold, Aura History Untold, Diablo IV Vessel of Hatred, Fallout 76, Milepost Zero, The Elder Scrolls Online, Gold Road, Towerborn, Star Wars Outlaws, Space Marine 2, Rebellion's Atomfall, and the much-anticipated Stalker 2, plus much, much more. So what I'll kind of say here is that for anybody who's not attending Gamescom, first off, I got some news for you here in just a moment, but if you are looking forward to these games specifically, you might be able to find some footage online of things that people share. Now, they also plan to show exclusive theater presentations for Starfield Shattered Space, Indiana Jones, and Avowed. So that'll be pretty exciting as well, but I think for most of us who aren't attending, we're probably more wondering about the opening night live event, and, well, Aaron Greenberg is already teasing some announcements for that showcase. You can see here where he said, for those not attending, I'd recommend you check out the Gamescom opening night live show, as well as our Xbox at Gamescom show floor daily broadcast streams. So, Xbox very much will be at that opening night live event, and now it's really just kind of a matter of what they have planned for that showcase. Now, one thing that I'd say immediately comes to mind here is definitive release dates. Games like Starfield Shattered Space, Indiana Jones, Towerborn, and even Avowed, which we just talked about earlier, still don't have definitive release dates. So these could all be potential announcements at this year's Gamescom. Now, I'm not sure if they'll show a surprise game or not, but if they do, looking back at their summer showcase, there were some notable absences that could possibly show up here. This includes Everwild, Clockwork Revolution, and maybe even Double Fine's new game. Double Fine seemingly teased a 2024 announcement earlier this year, and they could possibly show up at Gamescom. I mean, for that matter, Xbox has a ton of studios now with the Activision Blizzard acquisition, so they could possibly show something together. And then there's also possible Game Pass announcements that they could make. Xbox has used Gamescom in the past to announce different Game Pass partnerships, such as Lies of P as one such example. And speaking of Activision Blizzard, we're still waiting on a lot of those games to come over to Game Pass. They could potentially announce Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, or a multitude of Call of Duty games for Game Pass at this year's Gamescom. So if anything else, what I'll kind of say here is that if you like Xbox content, even in the slightest, you're definitely going to want to tune in for that Gamescom showcase. They could potentially announce a number of different things, though of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button and I'll give you all the latest information as we head into that event. Okay, now one last thing before we go. I'm going to go ahead and dispel a rumor, or at least to some degree, but then kind of give you bad news anyways. I know, there's really no winning with this one, but what's happening here is that Jeff Grubb claimed that the next Destiny game, codenamed Payback, was canceled. Now, he said technically this wasn't Destiny 3, but Bungie internally called it the next Destiny. Whatever they want to call it, though, according to what he's heard, it has been shelved indefinitely. So fans were very upset about this news, and reports were going wild with this. The Destiny 3 was canceled. Now, Jason Schreier did later on add some clarity that this was not for Destiny 3, but like I said, don't get your hopes up too much here, because ultimately, I still think that this comes off as bad news because according to him, this is what happened. He said, just to clear up some rumors floating around, Destiny 3 was not canceled because it was never in development, per people familiar. Bungie did some very early work on a spin-off project called Payback, but they canceled that a while ago. I'll have a story tomorrow with more information. So in other words, both Jason and Jeff agree. The next Destiny project was in fact canceled. But apparently it was for a spin-off that happened before the layoffs and not necessarily for Destiny 3. Rather, apparently, and I don't think this will make anybody feel better, according to what Jason said, Destiny 3 just simply doesn't exist at all. So I don't think this exactly instills a lot of confidence for the future of Destiny. It's basically going to be more of the same with, I assume, more expansions. Now, to be fair, the final shape seemingly performed well for them, but I think the problem still remains. The fact that Bungie cost Sony $3.6 billion is the problem here. They have such high expectations for this studio because they spent a lot for them, but Bungie just hasn't delivered on a consistent basis, and apparently that includes a canceled Destiny project. I mean, if anything, it'll be interesting to see if Sony can maybe get them back on track, but I think the concern that they overpaid for Bungie is kind of becoming a reality. I mean, in the long run, maybe they'll get it to work out for them. Maybe Marathon will come out and be a big hit. But for right now, Bungie just seems to be a mess. And that $3.6 billion price tag is, I'd say, more questionable than ever before. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, hit that subscribe button and peace out.